In all seriousness, I'm going to start today with the first in a three-part series where I'm covering the gear that I actually have. And in future videos, we'll cover the food preps and the first aid supplies. When I first considered moving to Alaska, one of the very first things that made it onto my list was my firearms. And I knew that I was going to need firearms for not only my personal protection on a daily basis, but also for hunting. What you see here is just a basic overview of what I have in my collection. This is not my entire collection. There's way more than I can possibly show you here, but I do want to point out some differences between what I have and when I use what I have. So let's start with my everyday carry, which is my 357. That's my everyday carry when I'm open carrying on the property. Now I know this 357 is not the gun of choice for many people when they think about being in bear country. And yet for others, this is the gun that they would carry every day and have for years. Really what it comes down to is when you're thinking about your protection from a predator, it's what you have available to you to use and what you're comfortable with. A lot of people have recommended a 44, but being a smaller person myself, a 44 just has too much firepower for me. I am looking at upgrading this though to something that has a bit more kick to it, and I'm looking at getting a 10 millimeter. I'm trying to decide between the Glock 20 and the Glock 29, leaning towards the 29 because it's a bit smaller and I'll have better control over that gun. As you can see here, I have my Mossberg 500, which I've modified, and my Mosin Nagant. And both of those serve different purposes, just like my 4570 serves a different purpose than the Mossberg 500. So knowing what to use when and having as many different options available to you to fit the scenario at hand is a must as well. And as I said, this is just a small collection of what I have available to me. And I didn't want to show everything because I don't want to bog down the video on just talking about firearms. But I did want to point out that it is important to know what tool to use when, and it's important to start out someplace and to not hesitate to move forward because your choices are limited. Sometimes you have to overcome and adapt as you go along and acquire things over time. And that's what I have done with my firearms, and that's what I'll continue to do. You know, I do conceal carry. I carry the 38 with me when I go into town, as well as some of these other items that you see here. And I would not use the 22 as a concealed carry, just as I wouldn't use the 38 to take down small game or to eliminate rodents. One of the other things that I carry with me is bear spray. You may not have seen it in my previous videos, but I always have bear spray on me or in reach, like arm's reach, not 10 feet away. Within arm's reach, I have bear spray. I keep a bear spray right here by the front door. I keep a bear spray on the driver's side of my vehicle, and I always have bear spray on me when I'm out and about. And that way I can use this in the event that I need to defend myself. This is a great backup to have in addition to the firearm. Despite the fact that my vehicle has become incapacitated a couple of times this winter here on the property, I do have several items in my cache of supplies that I can use to get myself out of a bind if need be. One of the things that I love and that I keep in my vehicle is this Armor Compressor. This is great if I get a low or flat tire, or if I need to air down because I'm heading onto an unpaved road and I would like to then air back up before getting onto the highway. And it's very simple in its design. It basically is just a mini air compressor. It's got the air tube here, and it hooks directly up to the car's battery to run. So I don't need to carry an extra battery pack or worry about whether or not this thing has a charge. As long as I have charge on my vehicle's battery, I've got access to air while on the road. Unfortunately, this device is no longer being produced, so I can't provide a link to it. This has worked out fantastic for me. So whether you're in Alaska or even just someone who's looking to make sure that you have the proper supplies, this is something I highly recommend. And as you saw in my video where I got stranded in the extreme cold temperatures, this is what I used to get my battery started again. This is a Rugged Geek IntelliBoost, and it's a great asset for anybody to keep in their vehicle. As you can see, it's rather compact. It fits snugly into this little compartment. I keep it stored in the house so that it is at proper temperatures for the battery within here. But this does have a flashlight that is able to be used if I needed to at night, as well as ports for charging small devices such as a phone or what have you if I needed. This is very intuitive to use, very simple. I highly recommend this to anybody that is looking to have a option for jumping their battery. One of the things I discovered over the years of travel is that a lot of people do not carry battery jumper cables in their vehicle, or if they do, they're not willing to assist a stranger in jumping their vehicle. You'd be surprised at who is not willing or able to assist you. For example, park rangers in some of the national parks are not willing or may not be allowed to assist a stranded vehicle owner in getting their vehicle started and up on the road. I learned that one the hard way. And so after that, I made sure that I always had a means of jumping my vehicle without the assistance of another vehicle. And especially when you're traveling into backcountry or remote areas, you just never know what's going to go wrong in those situations. And so having the preps necessary to get yourself up and running is essential. And this is just one of those things that I now keep with me every time I get in the vehicle. One of the other things that I keep in my vehicle is an Obd Reader. This Obd Reader has saved me the expense of having to go to a mechanic on more than one occasion. Sometimes you'll get an error code that'll come up on your vehicle and you may not know what it is. This will give you a brief description of what that code error means, as well as sometimes you get a check engine light but no error code will come up. And if you plug this into your port that's generally right underneath your steering wheel, this will not only give you the code that your car did not provide, but again, give you that brief description so that you can make a judgment for yourself whether or not that needs immediate attention or if it's something that you can resolve yourself that doesn't require a trip to the mechanics. This particular one is an older one that may not support all newer models of vehicles. It's a performance tool. I think I just picked this up at the local O'Reilly's or something like that back in Colorado. But I do highly recommend having an Obd Reader in your vehicle as well, just for those chances that you get that error code and you don't know what it is. I have means of getting myself unstuck in certain circumstances. Now, as I mentioned previously, I don't have a winch on my current vehicle. However, I do have a come along and tow straps that I carry in my vehicle as well. And just another great mechanical device that works effectively and efficiently for certain applications. A come along cannot be used in all circumstances, and you need something to secure this against, and so it may not be the best option. It is an option nonetheless. These are some steel tracks that I have, and they work fantastic at doing their job. I know the current thing that people are typically buying these days are max tracks, and those are great too, but these just happen to be some that I have in my supplies that I absolutely love. They're basically indestructible, and they have gotten me unstuck a time or two. And if you can find some like these, you know, you might be able to find something like this on Grainger or one of the off-road sites. They're worth picking up. And, you know, I always carry some leather gloves with me in my vehicle. But if my vehicle were to become stuck in a position where I could not get myself free and I needed to hike my way out of a situation, let me show you what I carry in my vehicle for those type of situations. So in the event that I cannot get my vehicle freed from being trapped in the mud or a ditch or something like that, I have always means of getting out and hiking it out. I keep a go bag with me, essentially, like a lot of people call them bug out bags. I call it my get home bag. It's gonna have the things in it that I need to get myself back home in most circumstances. In the winter months, I need to have some additional items with me in the vehicle. I do carry cleats for my boots in the vehicle, as well as I always have my Sorels. These I bought years ago. They have worked out fantastic for me, especially when paired with a pair or two of wool socks. You cannot go wrong with Sorels, or another pair, say, of bunny boots. Good insulated boots are definitely a must. And I carry the snowshoes with me when I leave in snowy conditions. That's even if I think that the snowy conditions are minor because you never know when a storm is going to appear and what that storm might be carrying with it. I have been out on expeditions where it was a bright sunny day, but in the wintry months, and gotten trapped in snowstorms where it just dumped 3 to 4 feet within a matter of a couple of hours. And if I did not have the gear with me that I did, I may not be here today. So I always carry these things in the vehicle with me during winter months. And like I said, it doesn't matter the amount of snow on the ground when I leave the house. It's the potential of what could occur while I'm away from the house. Now, I briefly want to touch on the gear or safety equipment that I have for in and around the cabin. Here again, this is just a basic overview of some of the equipment that I have. It is not everything that I own, but it'll give you a basic idea of the gear that I use on a regular or frequent basis. And you can see that I have several fire extinguishers shown here. I have fire extinguishers placed throughout the cabin in strategic locations, but there are multiple fire extinguishers on every floor of the cabin and smoke detectors as well. And I have a fire extinguisher placed directly in front of the wood stove. And then you can see I have a small butane stove that I use as well. And I have 2 small fire extinguishers just directly across from those in the cabinet, so I can extinguish a fire quickly should I need to. In the event that I'm trapped on the upper level of the cabin, if there was a cabin fire and I could not make my way down the stairs, I purchased 2 escape ladders that I could just pop open this window, pop out the screen, hoist the ladder out, and then climb down to safety. Now, I need to figure out how the heck I would get Kenai out if, it came to that situation. There are a couple things I have thought of. I'm not sure if they'll work. We'll talk about those in a future video. My ultimate plan in the case of a fire is to combat the fire with either the fire extinguishers that I have placed throughout the cabin, or with the water storage and the pump for the water storage tank down in the cellar. So that tank has 500 gallons in it. I've got a hose connection on the side of the cabin, a pressure tank connected to the storage tank. And so during the warmer months, I can definitely combat the fire around the property or on the cabin with that water. Fire protection is just one of those other things that I knew that I was going to need being out here on this property. In addition to having fire safety equipment here at the cabin, I also have other equipment that can allow me to collect firewood should I need it for heat, but also chainsaws so that I can remove fallen trees from across the drive or clear brush from away from the cabin to help prevent some of those fires. And you can see here that I have my electric chainsaw, and I have a gas-powered chainsaw that currently is in the tool shed that I will do a video in the future about, as well as some of the other structures here on the property. But I also have means of maintaining the chainsaws, as well as safety equipment to protect my legs, my hearing, my sight, and my limbs in the event that the chainsaws have some kickback or the chain breaks or something like that. I need to be, thinking about my own personal safety as well. And speaking of my own personal safety, I think I hear something. Let's go see what it is. Oh, this is going to be a good lunch. Some duck and wild rice soup. Have myself a little cracker. What is she doing? What do you mean? I'm having some crackers with my soup. They're not crackers. What do you mean these aren't crackers? They're not for you. They're for Kenai. It says like Life cereal, but in cracker form. I know what it says on the box. Kenai knows what it says on the box too. Yeah, read the box. Hard catch. For Kenai. Oh, they're dog treats. You want a biscuit? If you want the recipe, I'll post it in a future video, so be sure to check that out. And if you turn on bell notifications, you'll get notified as to when those videos pop up, because those are random, unlike my vlogs that come out every Thursday. All right, let's go get a biscuit. Let's go.
Turn on bell notifications so you don't miss a single episode, such as Part 2 in this Essential Items for Remote Living. In the meantime, check out these great videos.